There's a particular kind of quiet that settles into a house in the late afternoon when the light turns gold and everyone else has gone home. She wasn't expecting an old grocery list to change the way she saw the rest of her life. But somewhere inside that worn shoebox, between faded birthday cards and photographs with curled edges, she discovered something that millions of women don't realize until after 60. Because here's the truth so many of us discover only after the decades have passed. Sometimes the heaviest things we carry aren't in our hands at all. They're the regrets we've quietly held onto for years, tucked away in the same drawers as the photographs, taken out and turned over in private moments no one else ever sees. Growing older doesn't mean pretending those regrets never existed. That would be its own kind of dishonesty. No. Growing older, growing wiser means something different. It means finally learning which of those regrets deserve to keep living inside us, and which ones we are, at long last, allowed to set down. Today, we're going to sit with 6 of those regrets together. 6 things so many women over 60 carry, often quietly, often without even realizing how much space they've been taking up. And I promise you this, the 6th one, the final one, changes everything. It's the regret most women don't even recognize they're carrying until much later in life, when suddenly, almost without warning, it rises to the surface and asks to be seen. Before we go further, if you're the kind of woman who believes this season of life still has beautiful chapters left to write, we'd love for you to like this video and subscribe to her golden chapter. Turn on the notification bell too, so you never miss a moment with us. Think of this less like a channel and more like a porch swing. A place where women just like you gather to talk honestly about the years that matter most. Now, let's begin. Regret 1, she worked more than she truly lived. Woman in her 30s, briefcase in hand, rushing out the door before the coffee has even finished brewing. There's a soccer game she'll miss, a sunset she won't see because she's still at her desk when the sky turns orange and then indigo. There's always a reason, always something urgent, always tomorrow to make up for today. For so many women, decades were spent this way. Meeting responsibilities, checking boxes, proving worth through productivity. The mortgage got paid, the promotions came, and somewhere in the busyness, joy kept getting pushed to later. The vacation that never got booked. The painting class she meant to sign up for. The Tuesday afternoons that could have been spent doing absolutely nothing, just because nothing sounded wonderful. It isn't that working hard was wrong. It rarely is. But there's a particular ache that comes later in life. When a woman looks back and realizes she gave so much of herself to obligation that she forgot to leave any for wonder. The sunsets were there the whole time. She just wasn't always looking up. If this is a regret that lives quietly in you, here's a gentle question to sit with. What is one small piece of joy you've been postponing for later? Because later has a way of becoming now, if you simply decide it will. But work wasn't the only thief of time. For many women, something even closer to the heart slipped away just as quietly. And if working too much steals memories, the next regret steals something even harder to get back. Regret 2. She didn't spend enough time with the people she loved. There's a particular kind of ordinary Sunday afternoon, a mother in the next room folding laundry, a daughter on the phone with her own life pulling at her attention. I'll call her back later, she thinks. We'll talk more this weekend. And then, somehow, weekends become months, and months become years, and the conversations that felt like they could always happen tomorrow simply didn't. This is one of the quietest regrets, because it rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive in one dramatic moment. It arrives in the accumulation of small choices, the hug that could have lasted a few seconds longer, the phone call cut short because dinner needed making, the visit postponed because life felt too full to make room. And then, one day, the people are gone, or the years are gone, or both. And what's left isn't guilt exactly, it's a longing, a wish that she had understood back then how finite those ordinary afternoons actually were. So many women describe this regret the same way, not wishing they'd done anything extraordinary, just wishing they'd shown up more for the small, unremarkable moments, because it turns out those were never small at all. Ask yourself gently, who in your life deserves a little more of your time today, not someday? A phone call, a visit, A simple, "I've been thinking about you." It costs so little, and it means everything. If time slipping away quietly is one regret, there's another that operates in the opposite direction, loud, persistent, and dressed up as caution. And yet, even women who spent plenty of time with family often carried another regret. One that looked a lot like wisdom, but was actually fear. Regret 3. She let fear make too many decisions. There was a trip to Italy she almost took in her 20s. A small business idea she scribbled in a notebook and never showed to a single soul. A manuscript that sat in a drawer half finished because what if it wasn't good enough? What if people laughed? What if she failed? Fear has a soft, reasonable voice. It doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds like wisdom. Maybe someday, it whispers, when things are more stable, when there's more money, when the children are older, when it's safer. And so dream after dream got quietly folded up and placed in a drawer marked someday, which, as it turns out, is a drawer many of us never open again. Looking back, so many women realized the risk they were most afraid of, failure, embarrassment, disappointment, was never as dangerous as the quiet erosion of never having tried at all. The adventures replaced by maybe someday don't just disappear. They linger in the form of a wistful sigh whenever a similar opportunity crosses someone else's path. Here's a question worth asking honestly. Is there a someday dream still folded up in your own drawer? And is today perhaps finally the day to unfold it, even just a little? But if fear stole opportunities from so many women, the next regret quietly stole thousands of ordinary days without them ever realizing it. Regret 4. She worried about things that never happened. There's a particular exhaustion that comes from spending years bracing for disaster, rehearsing arguments that never took place, imagining diagnoses that never came, picturing losses that in the end never arrived at all. So much of a woman's inner life can be spent standing guard against catastrophes that exist only in her own mind. And here's the quiet tragedy of it. While she was busy protecting herself from imagined futures, the actual present, the one right in front of her, kept slipping by, largely unnoticed. The good, ordinary Tuesday, the warm cup of tea, the laughter of a grandchild in the next room, all of it happening while her mind was somewhere else entirely, standing watch over threats that never materialized. Worry feels productive. It feels like preparation. But so often, it's simply joy's quiet thief, taking a little bit each day without ever announcing itself. Before we continue, I'd love to know which of these regrets has spoken to your heart so far. Take a moment and share it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to read today, to remind her that she isn't carrying any of this alone. Now, there's a 5th regret, one that so many women describe not with anger, but with tenderness toward the younger version of themselves who simply didn't know better. Regret 5. She didn't take better care of herself. For years, she was the one who noticed everyone else's needs before her own. She remembered every appointment except the ones for herself. She made sure everyone else ate well while grabbing something quick, standing at the counter, barely tasting it. Rest felt indulgent. Stillness felt unproductive. And so her body's quiet requests for sleep, for movement, for gentleness went unanswered for far too long, until one day they simply couldn't be ignored anymore. This isn't a regret meant to carry guilt. If anything, it deserves compassion, not judgment. She wasn't careless, she was devoted, so devoted to everyone else that she forgot she too was someone worth tending to. What so many women come to understand, often later than they'd like, is that caring for yourself was never selfish. It was the very thing that would have allowed her to keep showing up for everyone she loved, for longer and with more of herself intact. If you recognize this in yourself, let this be a gentle nudge rather than a scolding one. What is one small kindness you could offer your own body today? And now we arrive at the regret so many women describe as the one they wish they had understood decades earlier. It's quieter than the others. But it may be the most life-changing of all. Can I ask you something? If you're over 60, what's one piece of advice you wish someone had given you when you were 40? Leave it in the comments. Someone reading it today may need exactly those words. Regret 6. She waited too long to truly enjoy life. After the children are grown, after retirement, after things finally settle down. For so many women, joy was never refused outright. It was simply postponed again and again, always waiting for some future moment when conditions would finally be perfect. But here's what so many discover, sometimes with a laugh and sometimes with tears. That perfect moment never actually arrives. Life doesn't pause and hand you a clean, quiet stretch of time, labeled, "Now you may finally enjoy yourself." Life was happening all along. The birthday candles, the family dinners, the ordinary Tuesday mornings. Those weren't the moments before life began. They were life. And yet, here is the hope tucked inside this final regret. It is the one regret that can still be rewritten starting today. Unlike years already spent, joy postponed is not joy lost forever. As long as a woman is alive, breathing, capable of noticing the light through her window or the sound of rain on a rooftop, it is not too late. It is never too late to choose joy. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet, everyday kind that was always available, waiting patiently to be claimed. 6 regrets, 6 quiet weights so many women have carried for years, sometimes without even naming them until now. But here's what's important to understand. Regrets don't exist to punish us. They aren't proof of failure. They exist for a much gentler reason, to remind us, clearly and honestly, what still matters most. You don't have to spend your remaining years carrying yesterday's weight into tomorrow. Every single one of these regrets can be set down right now, in this very moment, simply by choosing to live differently starting today. The most beautiful part of growing older isn't having fewer years ahead. It's finally knowing which burdens are no longer yours to carry. If this video spoke to something in you, we'd be so grateful if you'd like it. Subscribe to Her Golden Chapter and turn on notifications so you're always here with us for what comes next. And before you go, I'd love to ask, which of these 6 regrets are you choosing to let go of today? Share it in the comments. Your honesty might be exactly the encouragement another woman needs to hear. Your story isn't measured by the mistakes you've made. It's measured by the courage to keep living after them. And perhaps that's the real gift of growing older, finally understanding that peace weighs far less than regret. Thank you for spending this time with us. Until next time, be gentle with yourself, because your most beautiful chapter may still be unfolding.